Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is Duckville here. We've got some Heart of the Swamp today, a Zerg versus Terran. It is going to be on Neo Planet S. Starting up at the top right-hand side, he has been a player around for quite a long time, has been competing very nicely in StarCraft 2. It's been a little bit quiet recently, but hopefully we'll see him make a little bit of a resurgence. It is Quantic Gaming's Hyun. As I said, he's been around for quite a long time. Some people aren't aware that he was a Brood War player for quite a long time as well in the famous NBC game team. His opponent down on the bottom left-hand side has certainly been making a splash, whether it be in the Korean scene in the GSL Super League or overseas in some of the various tournaments he has competed in. Now with a personal team sponsorship, whatever it is, I still don't actually know. It is CMStorm's Polt. And of course, Polt, a former player for Team Prime, one of their very strong Terran players that they had in that lineup during their heyday. We'll see what he gets up to here now, living over in the States, going to college in the States, if memory serves me right. And while doing that, also winning some StarCraft. He's been doing quite well. And we'll see what he gets up to here. It looks as if we will get a, we'll see if it is a, yep, okay, the refinery comes up. So it is going to be just a quick Reaper, at least one Reaper to start with. A lot of Terran players will sometimes go up to 2, maybe 3 on the very odd occasion. But most players sort of sticking to 1 and then macroing up after that 1 Reaper these days. Of course, it depends. You know, you can do proxies, you can do, you know, multi-racks Reapers from time to time, and it can get some really good damage done, but we'll see what CMStorm Polt is able to do here today. This map is a really nice map. I do like many of the features on this one. You've got a very sort of varied sort of attack paths. TvZ has left the game apparently, just in case you guys are wondering. You can come up through the bottom side, or you can go through the top. There are quite a lot of pathways through this map. It does encourage quite a lot of 2-base play, especially from Protoss, but does happen with Terrans as well. But a lot of Terrans these days are really loving to go up to a much more macro-based play, utilizing Widow Mines, utilizing Hellbats. The bane of the existence of Zerg players are those Hellbats. And we can see that Polt is going to open us up with 1 Reaper to start with. The second one will be popping out as well just behind that. Hyun does see that and he says, alright, well, we know there's a Reaper coming. Polt's got some decent micro. What are we going to do about that? He's got his spawning pool. He's got a little bit of gas coming in. The gas is slightly later than you would normally expect for a player who wants to play it much safer. So his gas is going to be a tiny bit behind, but what he's going to be relying on is the ability to move these drones about, just try and keep them out of danger as this Reaper pops through, says hello, and it looks as if some links will pop out just in time, at least to salvage some of the health of those drones. So Polt forced to run back for the moment. The Reapers, of course, are faster than slow lings, even on creep, which is you know, pretty exciting thing to comprehend. I'm sure when everyone saw the changes to Reapers when it came to Heart of the Swarm, they're a little bit excited about it, not expecting they would do as much damage as they do. They don't necessarily cause you a massive delay as a Zerg player. All you need to do is make sure you get out your queens as quickly as you can. We can see that Hyun has now got his queens at the natural and the main, zoning out those, zoning out the Reapers, just sort of blocking them from sort of coming across this path here and this one, and then also inside the natural as well. We saw the queen just start to make her way out there, just blocking off those areas, and in fact almost getting a kill on that Reaper. He is forced to back off for the time being. As we can see back at home, Polt forced to micro around a little bit here, while a couple of Lings did make their way across, just trying to keep Polt back at home. A little bit like a sort of miniature version of Mutalisk, where they can be designed to hold your opponent back for a short time while you prepare for some defenses. But in this case, we can see that Hyun has got a lot of drones out now. He's up to a total of 34, not a bad total at all. Zergling speed is just about to complete, so we'll see him retake some of that map control, which he really wants at this point. He's certainly going to need it now that he is taking a 3rd base up towards the 12 o'clock position on the map. Back at home for Polt, he's gotten a reacted racks up. We've got a tank coming out as well, just making sure that he's very safe. I did see Polt utilizing this strategy during WCS America and in the Premier League, I believe it was. Is he in the Premier? Yeah, he's in the Premier League. Don't ask silly questions, Duckville. And just to get a tank out to stop any sort of early roach aggression, which does come about from some players from time to time. a lot of the time for Terrans, what they want to do is get this economy going. We mentioned getting some Reapers out, then getting your macro established with your natural orbital command. A third does come up quite a lot. As we can see, Polt has already got that rolling. And this tank is just designed to help with the possible early busts that can come about from Zerg players. But we can see that the Roach Warren is a little bit further behind what you would normally expect for that kind of early attack. So Hyun certainly not going to go down that path for the moment. He is going to get out 4 Roaches just to help out with defense against any possible Hellions that may come about. But of course, as we know, as the spectators in this game, we can see that that's not going to be a possibility just for the time being. So Polt is just preparing for that possible push. He's making sure this is just a very safe sort of build here from the Terran, and we can see that he is going to add on a few Widow Mines now, just to make sure that he does have that possible fallback position. eBay's being built down the back here, making sure he's prepared for that mid to late game, getting his macro on. This SCV, where are you going, sir? I think he... Oh, okay, you got stuck while building the supply depot. I was thinking, where is that going? That's really weird. But we can see now that Hyun going to find out that some of the Marines and the Reapers were making their way out across the map. The Marines actually finding that Overlord, very nicely done by Polt to secure that kill on the Overlord. Sets Hyun back just a tiny bit. Nothing too detrimental to his economy, though. We can see now that Hyun is building up that 4th macro hatchery at the 3rd base. Very interesting to see it there, but he is going to get that up and running. 61 drones in total, and we'll see him, in fact, he's going for another base. The 4th down at the bottom side of the map is going to go up now. He's up to 61 drones, as we mentioned. Now going to get started with some of these upgrades as well. The Roach Speed getting research, +1 to Carapace. We've also got a Baneling Nest going up for Hyun, and we'll see where he's going to move from here. It looks like we are going to get a sort of a 3-base kind of push with Roaches or something to that effect. We do have pneumatized Carapace being researched by the hatchery down here at the Natural Expand. Interesting to see that so early. We'll see if this is going to be an attempt on a drop here by Hyun, but we'll find out very soon, no doubt about that. More Queens being built by Hyun as well. Loves his Queens, loves his creep spread. It does look a little bit slower than you would normally expect from him, but he has been able to get started with the creep spread. And now we can see that Roaches are making their way across, finding a Widow Mine. Unfortunately, not able to take it down before the shot was taken. And the Reapers are forced to back off for the moment here. And it looks as if we are going to get a little bit, just a tiny bit of a push here from Hyun, just to see what's going on. He wants to say, well, what's happening here at the 3rd base? Alright, there's a decent amount of SCVs here. We're going to need to look to possibly pressure that with some Roaches, with some Lings, as we can see those guys building on the map. +1 to Carapace is going to fit in quite nicely with this attack. And this is also going to give him the cover to get this 4th base operational. And once he gets some more gas starting to come in here, Hyun is really going to start to look towards that Hive Tech, which is also wonderfully valued by Zerg players. So we'll see. Looks like the Evo Chamber, again, this is just a very slow sort of upgrade path here from Hyun. We do have quite a lot of units coming out now. 11 Banelings have been morphing. Where are those guys? There they are, just on the top of the ramp there. They're going to morph in. It looks like we are going to get an attack on the 3rd base. These Overlords going to help out in a couple of ways. They can provide you with some creep spread to help with retreats or attacks. And another thing they can do, which Liquid Snoot is, I always see him doing it. I never really see too many other players doing it, but these Overlords can soak up Widow Mine shots. If you send them in first, they'll take the shot, they'll say, alright, I'm still alive, I'm not dead, and they can take those shots, and it looks as if, in fact, he's not even going to bother with that. But Hyun now attacking into the 3rd base, some of the units spreading out to attack in towards the defenses here up at the top, but Hyun has just absolutely demolished this 3rd base right now. The command center was able to float away for the time being, but we can see that Hyun has just prepared wonderfully for this. He's taken out the 3rd, he's going to get rid of these supply depots here, which not only helps out with delaying his opponent's construction of units, but it also lets him escape. He's probably just going to head down this way. It will block off the orbital command from landing down yet again, and Polt is put in a position where if he wants to attack down this way, he could get flanked by some units of Hyun down in that direction. And now that Overlord running across as quickly as he can, trying to drop some creep, but unfortunately for Hyun, he was not able to get any creep down. But a nice attack there. Delays the 3rd base. Polt is put into a position where he needs to get some counter-attack damage done. And we can now see that he is going to push across towards the top right, the top side of the map, up at the 12 o'clock position here. We'll see if he's able to get some damage done. I'm not a huge fan of the fact that he wasn't able to he didn't sort of load up in the medevac and just sort of speed across to the 3rd base, but We can see he's also pushing across into the fourth as well. Looks like this attack is not going to get much done. Decides to pick up, is going to jet across and try and drop in. The remaining Marines up at the top were wiped out by some Banelings here. We can see that the medevacs are now going to make their way into the natural. This is probably going to get a reasonable amount of damage done. In fact, no, Hyun is on the ball. Speedlings coming back through. They do have +1 to carapace, so they do last a little bit longer than your average Lings do. So Hyun has been doing a good job deflecting all of these attacks for the time being. Looking at the workers killed, Hyun has taken out 24 workers of Polt, which means that he's put himself in a really solid position. We can see that the worker count is now up to 72 for Hyun. He's now got a Spire just finishing up as well. The big mushroom tower is now finished up. We may see a few mutas added on. I don't think we're going to see a massive amount, just purely because, well, not only is Hyun supply blocked right now, but also because it's just sort of not that timing where you would sort of expect it. He's just got so many Lings and Banes on the ground. He can just split up a couple of forces and leave them in the back of the mineral lines of some of his bases, and he should be fine. Like we can see, this group of units here is just fine to defend against a simple 1 or maybe even 2 medevac attacks. So he's just going to leave that all together there, and as we can see for Polt, he himself is going to do some pushing. With his third base now finally up and running, he can start to rally some units across. And we've got a lot of Widow Mines here. We've got a total of 9 Widow Mines active and ready to rumble here while they push up towards through the top edge of the map. It looks like Polt is trying to get some damage done down at the 4th base. He may be able to get something going here, but a few Banelings now just rolling their way across the plains to find their way through the frozen snow of Planet S, and they were able to remove some of the Marine threat here, but the rest of the Marines up at the top side, we did see some really nice splitting here from Polt. He is able to soak up some of the Baneling hits here, but there are more and more Banelings now rolling across from Hyun, and he is able to force back some of this attack. I don't think that's going to get too much done. Polt continuously dropping through the sides here. We can see that there are quite a few attacks going on right now across the map. We've got medevacs over here at the side. Medevacs at the top base do have to jet out of there as quickly as they can, and while that was all going on, Hyun was able to take down the 3rd orbital command of Polt, and Polt is now in a very difficult position. We can see him adding on that extra factory, trying to get those extra Widow Mines coming up, which certainly do help when dealing with large quantities of Lings like this. We can see that there are a total of 130 Zerglings out on the map. They don't have massive upgrades, they're just sitting at a 1-1, but I mean, there are just so many of them. The possibility to switch into Banelings as well, but a lot of the gas has now been invested into mutas, and we can see that the muta count has climbed up to a total of 13. It's going to be 20 in a moment here for Hyun, and he is just demolishing everything here. Lings now just dancing across the snow. Banelings coming in behind them. It looks like some of the tanks were not able to target fire some of the Banes, and Muta's now sweeping in from the top, but they don't actually get anything done. But this is all this is doing here, which is just perfect for Hyun, is delaying this 3rd base. Polt is now just mining away with 54 workers. It's a very low sort of mineral income here at this point for the Terran player. But if he's efficient, he can still keep himself in this game. The wonderful thing about Marines and Widow Mines is that they are just wonderfully efficient units. If he can burrow those mines in time, get the stim activated on the Marines and that kind of thing, they've got their 3-3, which is just about to complete right now. They're really, really decent units, and we can see that Polt is able to salvage some of them here, dropping out a singular Marine there to soak up some Banelings. That guy is not going to be happy about that. Well, I suppose he's dead, so he's certainly not going to be happy. But Hyun still delaying this 3rd base, and Polt needs to take this base out. If he cannot get this base, then this game is effectively over, if it isn't already. But we'll see. Loads up yet again. Hyun just all over the place with these Lings and Banelings here. He's now also expanding into the center goal position as well, so he is just really taking command of this game at this point. There are a total of 19 Banelings still out on the map right now for Hyun. He has just got so much power on the ground. It's very swift and mobile, which is always something which you really want to have when you're facing up against just a wonderful Terran player such as Polt. And we can see more Banelings now morphing in, another 13 going to be added to the total, more Zerglings also coming in. It's interesting to factor that the upgrades for Hyun still stuck at 2-1. I kind of would have expected a little bit more upgrading from him at this point. He is about to get +2 on his weapons, but it just seems a little bit slower than normal. He has invested in very high aggression tactics, trying to take out the 3rd base of Polt, but still, As you can see, Polt's starting to assert himself in this area here. We've got this this sort of no-go zone for any of those Zerg units here, but it looks like some of the Zerglings and the Roaches make their way through. Widow Mines being taken out by some of the Lings and the Roaches now. These medevacs are going to have to start unloading and making themselves more and more efficient here. But Polt, back at home, mining almost nothing from the natural, from the main base. The natural is almost gone as well, and as you can see, Polt's still just trying to be as efficient as he can with these Marines, but there is just not enough. Hyun takes out most of the forces here, and this leaves Polt with a very meager force of units. 11 Marines, a single Marauder. There are 8 medevacs, so there are almost a medevac for each single unit on the ground of Polt, but is it going to be enough? Because, I mean, he's now trying to land at the 3rd base here, but the Roach says, I don't think so. Polt drops down a couple of mules thinking that he was going to be able to land there, but he decides instead he's going to land across just above the Roach that's burrowed in there, and he finally does get rid of that base, but is it too late? Hyun is now sitting on a total of 71 drones at this point. His economy, while not actually perfect at this point, because there have been those various drops across the map, he is still in a pretty damn decent position at this point. 71 drones against the 44 of Polt. But I mean, here's Polt. Here's a Terran, which, as we said before, can be very efficient. And he has now taken over that gold base here, gotten rid of the hatchery. The Mutas will sweep in from the side, taking out 1, maybe 2 of these medevacs here. In fact, nope, just the 1 is going down there. Oh, actually, he will catch it. There you go. No, he decides not to. All right, good guy, Hyun. Tries to let you stay in the game while you are sitting on a very low macro at this point. But Polt has now been able to get this base up and running. If he can get these minerals coming in and then take some really favorable engagements here, I could still see him surviving in this game for quite a lot longer. But Bailey's now just rolling through, not caring about the Widow Mines underground, as we can see, Polt has now got another threat here. Some Lings have made their way down to the 3rd base. They're going to take care of some of these Marines, but not too many. These Marines have now got 3-3, keep in mind, with the medevacs up in the air to help them out. And Polt keeps his 3rd base alive for the time being, but it looks as if things are starting to get a little bit grim for him. He's down at 101 supply, but the Mutas starting to really lower in their numbers here, and we can see, in fact, in general, Hyun's forces are starting to really lower in their number just because of the fact that Hyun is struggling for minerals at this point. We can see that he does have this base is now up and running. The natural, just about out of minerals now. The main is, of course, pretty much done. In fact, there you go, right on time. The minerals die out at that base, and Hyun is starting to fall into this position, which can happen quite a lot in Zerg versus Terran, where you have to think, alright, well, this is actually getting a little bit worrisome because I don't have enough money coming in to rebuild some of the forces. And you just sort of fall into this trap where a Terran player can be consistently dropping you. Widow Mines are just efficient as anything. And now, as we can see here, Polt has been able to take a 4th base up at the top left-hand side. So Hyun has to be very careful right now. Originally, through the mid and sort of that mid-late stage of this game, it looked as if Hyun was just in this perfect position. But now, as we can see, in fact, some really good shots of those Widow Mines really help out Polt here. He will still lose all... Oh, wait. 2 of the Marines. I was going to say he's going to lose all of those forces, but he did lose an orbital command across to the side. The Mutalisks finally making themselves worth it at this point right now at the 25-minute mark of the game. And Hyun, no minerals at this point. Building some Lings, building a Muta, and building another hatchery here. If this base doesn't survive, this game could be over, and, you know, all hail Polt for being able to stay alive for quite a long time, considering the position he was in. But the Muta's now coming across. Looks like the Marines are able to save the day. A lot of those SCVs staying alive at the moment here. They are the BGs for the time being, and the attack does continue through the top side. So Hyun still continuously having to deal with this pressure up at the top end of the map. It looks like an Overseer will catch those Widow Mines there, and the Bailings unfortunately detonating on that. That's probably not what you want to see. But Hyun has been able to set up this hatchery, this lovely amount of minerals coming in. This is really what he needs at this point. We would probably even like to see him take another base, but it's just going to be such a struggle for him to try and be as efficient as he can against Polt now with his 3-3 Marines, with these medevacs now. They did lower in the count, but I mean, there's still some medevacs out, and that's you know, having some medevacs is more than nothing. And Polt is just continuously pressuring this base, just looking like he might threaten this base. And while there aren't a huge amount of minerals here, if this goes down, that's a lot of production that's lost here for Hyun. And to be honest, he does have a lot of lava here. But wow, there you go. There's a favorable engagement. Not too bad at all there for Polt. And even down on the bottom side of the map, he also loses that attack as well. And that is going to be quite detrimental to the chances of Polt proceeding through this game, because it is starting to look well, again, a little bit grim, but I mean, he's still keeping his macro up. 11 Marines coming out at a time. We do have a couple of medevacs being made every now and then just to try and keep the count up, but one thing that has stopped is the production of Widow Mines. He's now only got a total of 5 Widow Mines out on the map. I still remember that really interesting statistic of that if you have more than 10 Widow Mines, your chances of winning really increase quite a lot, apparently according to high-level replay statistics. But anyway, Polt now pushing in. This base is now forfeit. No more gas coming in from this base for Hyun. He's also going to lose all that production, which we mentioned before. These Marines are just going to tear through this hatchery. And as you can see, Polt is forced to defend a counter-attack. Roaches and Lings making their way across. Looks like some of the Lings will come in towards the 4th base here, taking out quite a lot of the SCVs. Polt, you need to get home right now because he has got so much going on the map. A little bit of stutter step back and forth here from Polt up at the 3rd base of Hyun. And it looks like the Marines will survive. The drones now having to come along to defend against this attack. It's not every day you get to see something like that. The Marines just doing their best to try and stay in it. And, well, they do get a decent amount of damage done. But the drones, for the most part, are still alive. We've still got a lot of workers killed out there for Hyun. And, I mean, that is still favoring his account right now. And as we look at the worker tally right now, 14 to 58. So, Polt, this is going to be a very difficult fight back for him. We can see he does have quite a few Marines out on the map. A couple of Widow Mines now being built at the factories, but Lings have now made their way in towards the natural base, looking to get inside the main, but not really getting any luck with that. Marines just shredding those Lings. That is a lot of lost minerals, which Hyun is not going to be happy about, but one thing he does have to be happy about is the fact that he has now got a 4th base down at the bottom right-hand side of the map. Polt is still actually not aware of that base. As we can see here from his vision, he has actually not scouted this out at all. So Hyun has to be, as long as he can keep that base up, this game is pretty much over. I don't really see Polt coming back from this unless he gets some sort of miraculous hold on a base. Whether he comes down here to retake this 3rd base yet again, or whether he's able to just push across and get some really efficient trades. This is going to be very difficult for the Terran player from Korea. So Hyun, as we can see, has just sort of stabilized himself for the time being. We've got a total of 58 drones out, which, while normally is not a massive amount, it's still something that is going to give you a decent economy, especially when you're dealing with a Terran player on the opposite side of the map who has only got 1 base economy. But now we can see the infestation pick goes down. That's going to be a little bit of a detriment there to Hyun. And now these Marines are going to go to town. We do have Lings now pushing into the 3rd base of Polt. They have taken out the SCVs and quite a lot of those the units there. Now the orbital command forced to lift. Marines trying to get back as fast as they can. Polt just absolutely everywhere with his micro. This guy is absolutely insane with the drops that he's got going all over the place. It's very similar to MMA with his multi-pronged harassment all over the place. It's just incredible to watch. But now, as we can see, Polt, 1 worker. Where is it? Oh wait, hang on. We use that tab, you silly. There it is. Alright, 1 SCV is now out for Polt. This is the hero. Will he be able to save the day? I think it's going to be very difficult because Polt has now got a total of 5 minerals. Yeah! But I don't know, man. We've got a lot of Marines out, and if he can get some good trades, if we can get some oh well, that's a little bit sad, killing all those changelings there. But if you know, if he can get a decent trade, I mean, there's a lot of banelings. He just has to be careful of utilize. Oh wow, okay. So there's a huge flank going on, and that's what Hyun is after right now. He wants to say, all right, come in, try and attack my 3rd base. You can have the hatchery inside the main. You can have the spire and the spawning pool and all these things. In fact, no, you can't. I've decided it's time to get rid of that. Oh wow, that Widow Mine. Very sexy there. 15 kills for that Widow Mine. But Polt, he's going to try and make it happen. And you know what? If there is anyone who could do it, I would say it is Polt. Possibly Marine King as well. But this is going to be a very difficult game here for our Terran player. Looks as if he's trying to secure the gold base. He's taking his opponent's gold base in the middle here. A bit of a crazy sort of thing to consider, but looks like we may have a final engagement. Lynx, Banes engaging with those Marines there, stemming up, splitting wonderfully there from Polt, but I mean, there are just so many units. He now has to deal with all of these Lings, all of these Banes. The orbital command is down. We've got this last drop of medevacs inside the main base. It looks like the Marines will be able to take care of the spawning pool, but I think that is it. There is no way for Polt to be able to salvage this game unless he has the micro of an absolute champion. He is pretty much dead at this point. These Marines loading up as quickly as they can, as we can see. There we go. GG from Polt. He tried his best. It looked very, very tough for him during that mid-game when his third base was delayed a number of times. But he was able to bring it back, got a third back up and running, then even got a fourth at one point and was looking pretty good when he moved up here to take out the third base of Hyun. But Hyun just continued on with that aggression, was very effective with his macro as well, just slowly was able to get some of his drones across to the base down at the side here and at the bottom right hand side, which, keep in mind, has never been scouted, and was able to keep his macro up and get those Lings, Banes, and all other things out on the map to save the day. So, very nicely done there by Quantic Gaming's Hyun. Of course, you know, CMStorm Polt doing a decent job, but unfortunately not able to pull it out in this game. Now just got one inside the gas geyser. In fact, he's taken two out, so we'll see if he's just planning something a little bit fishy here. But the spawning pool not quivering at the moment. This is one sign that you have to be very careful of when you're approaching